Okay, we have our second calculation, our second major calculation. In this case, we're going to talk about the confidence interval related to a proportion. We have a different formula that we're going to use. The confidence interval for a proportion looks a little like the other one. Pi, which is the proportion for the population, which we seldom know, is equal to the proportion that we calculate from our sample, plus or minus z, which is based on our confidence level, times the square root of that proportion, times 1 minus that proportion divided by the sample size. So we have a problem here. We have our sample size is 100, our proportion is 0.6, and we want to be 95% confident. So we plug those numbers into our calculation. So we are pretty confident that pi is equal to p, which is 0.6, plus or minus z, and our z is based on 95% confidence level, and we know that to be 1.96. And then we plug in our square root. We have our square root, and we have 0.6, which is p, times 1 minus 0.6 up here, and down here we have our sample size, which is 100. We do the math, and we solve for this first, and then we multiply this times this, and we do the adding and subtracting, and we'll find that pi is equal to 0.6 plus or minus, we do all the math here, we're going to get 0.088. And then we can develop our confidence interval for this proportion. So our proportion is somewhere, let's see, oops, backwards. Our proportion is between 0.6 plus 0.088, which is 0.688, and it's somewhere on the other end is 0.512. So it's greater than or equal or less than or equal. So our proportion, the confidence interval is, we can say that we are 95% confident that the proportion based on this analysis is somewhere between 0.512 and 0.688. The confidence interval for proportion, this is used like for elections. When you read in the paper that the expectation is that 60% of the people are going to vote for candidate A. Normally, if you read the fine tuning, the fine language down at the bottom, the small print, it's going to say we're 95% confident and that there's plus or minus some percentage points. This is what they're talking about. Confidence interval for proportion. Pi, which is the confidence or the proportion, is equal to p plus or minus z times the square root of p times 1 minus p over n. Confidence interval for a proportion.